Adoption of agendas. Councillor Wilson.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Neal, that the Council adopt the agendas as published on December 13th, 2018, and any and all revisions published on December 14th, 2018, and December 18th, 2018.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Mayor's report. On behalf of City Council staff and our residents, I would like to thank the new group of dedicated volunteers who stepped up to organize this year's Santa Claus Parade. It was a great success and a huge hit within the community. We are already looking forward to next year's parade. Dog owners, this is a reminder, 2019 dog licenses are available for purchase at thorold.docupet.com. Purchase your license before December 31st of this year to avoid late registration fees. Please be advised that Thorold City Hall will be closed from Monday, December 24th through Tuesday, January 1st for the holidays. Regular hours will resume on Wednesday, January 2nd, 2019. This will be the last council meeting of this year, so on behalf of City Council and staff, I would like to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a safe and Happy New Year. Enjoy the time with family and friends, and we will see you all back in 2019. And that's the end of my mayor's report. Not regional, okay. Next, we're going to move into the public meeting. Okay, this public meeting is being held pursuant to the provisions of Section 34 and 51 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990 CP 13 as amended. The purpose of the red line modifications to the Rolling Meadows draft plan is to convert 2 park blocks into 12 single detached dwelling lots, convert 2 street townhouse blocks into 1 park block, realign the southern portion of Schmon Parkway to terminate at a newly proposed traffic circle in consultation with MTO at Highway 20. Increase local road right-of-ways to 20.0 meters to meet municipal standards. Realign existing draft plan approved lots blocks due to the increase in the right-of-way width. Add a new right-of-way, charm place, and adjust lots accordingly. And or modified draft plan conditions, the tribunal will determine if there are reasonable grounds to add the person or public body as a party. Now at this time, if there is there a presentation first? Okay, now at this time, if there is anyone present who wishes to speak for or against the bylaw, modified draft plan, or modified draft plan conditions. Oh, it's two-sided, so I better get back here. Okay. So we'll end after I read, add a new right-of-way, charm place, and adjust lots accordingly. Create 5 blocks for a total of 24 street townhouses and realign 1 block for medium-density housing. The purpose of the zoning bylaw amendment is to rezone 2 park blocks to permit 12 single detached dwelling lots, rezone 2 street house blocks to permit 1 park block, rezone 3 stormwater management blocks to match the revised lot patterns, rezone the existing draft plan approved single detached lots to match the revised lot patterns, rezone 5 blocks for 24 street townhouses, rezone the amended medium density housing blocks for block townhouse condominium development. Council will receive and consider all comments received at the public meeting. The report, approval of the modified draft plan conditions, and zoning bylaw will be presented to Council at a subsequent meeting for consideration. Public participation. A person or public body who before the bylaw was passed or before council gives or refuses to give approval to the modified draft plan of subdivision and the modified draft plan's conditions made oral submissions at a public meeting or written submissions to council may no later than 20 days after the day that giving of notice of passing of bylaw is given or notice of the giving or refusing to give approval to the modified plan of subdivision and the modified draft plan conditions may appeal to the local planning appeal tribunal by filing with the clerk a notice of appeal accompanied by the fee. If a person or public body did not make an oral submission at the public meeting or provide written submissions to council before the bylaw was passed or before council gives or refuses to give approval to the modified draft plan of subdivision and or the modified draft plan conditions, the tribunal will determine if there are reasonable grounds to add the person or public body as a party. Now at this time, if there is anyone present who wishes to speak for or against the bylaw, modified draft plan or modified draft plan conditions, please come forward to the podium. Is there anyone wishing to speak for or against? Seeing none, I'll move to closing remarks and closing of the meeting. This fulfills the requirement of the Planning Act, RSO 1990 CP 13, pursuant to sections 34 and 51. The city's general committee will consider staff recommendations report and the giving or refusing to give approval to the modified draft plan of subdivision at a future meeting. Consequently, council will consider the bylaw at a later date. An attendance sign-in sheet is located at the back. Please provide your contact information and note on the sign-in sheet if you wish to receive notice of council's decision. Alternately, a letter requesting to receive notice of council's decision may be sent to the clerk. As such, the public meeting portion of this application is now closed. Okay. And now we'll move on to Regional Councillor update. Regional Councillor Tim Whalen.
Mayor Ugolini and City Councilors. Well, it's sure an honor to be here tonight. It's a little awkward after 15 years sitting around the council chambers to sit on this side of the fence, but it is a thrill and an honor to be here representing the city of Thorold as your regional councilor. Now, an update on the regional aspect of it. We haven't accomplished too much now, but we did have the opportunity to select our committees last Thursday, so I just want to update council on where we stand in that respect. First of all, Mayor Ugolini had the thrill of being representing Thorold at the Planning and Economical Development Committee, Public Works Committee, and advisory committees of Smarter Niagara Steering Committee, and most of which might really be important over the next while, the Waste Management Advisory Committee, which will really be important. There's a lot of vibes on the street of what should be done, and I'm sure that he'll represent us well on that committee. And as far as myself, I sit on the Public Health and Social Services Committee, Corporate Services Committee, the Procurement Advisory Committee, and the Audit Committee. And I had the thrill of being appointed for a 3-month basis in Niagara Peninsula Conservation Association, which should be contentious, but it is a necessity. Things have to be done and cleaned up at that aspect, so we're looking forward to that. So I don't think I've had the chance of meeting everybody in a formal setting like this, but I'd like to congratulate Mayor Ugolini and Council for a successful campaign and election to this council. I'm sure that everybody around this table will represent Thorold well over the next 4 years, and I wish you all the best. And other than that, on behalf of the region and regional council, I just want to wish everybody in Thorold and everybody in this room a fantastic Christmas ahead and a healthy and prosperous 2019. Thank you.
Thank you, Regional Councillor Whalen, and congratulations to you on your victory. And I look forward to working with you and for you coming back and reporting to us.
As well, and we'll see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to adoption of the minutes. Council and General Committee meeting minutes of November 20th, 2018. Councilor Neal.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. It's moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Settons, that the regular Council and General Committee meeting minutes of November 20th, 2018 be hereby adopted.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. General Committee meeting minutes of December 1st, 2018. Councilor Sentence.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Neal, that the General Committee meeting minutes of December 1st, 2018 hereby adopted.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. General Committee meeting minutes of December 4th, 2018. Councilor DeRose.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Longo, and that the General Committee meeting minutes December 4th be hereby adopted.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Council meeting minutes of December 11th, 2018. Councilor Decker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Longo that the regular Council and General Committee meeting minutes of December the 11th, 2018 be hereby adopted.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? Seeing none, I'll move on to civic recognition. We have no civic recognition, no presenters. We'll move on to motions for support. And I'll call on Councilor Longo for Thorold Runway Recognition Committee terms of reference.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Wilson that Council direct the Thorold Runway of Recognition Committee to review their current terms of reference within the first 3 months of this term of council, and that the committee increase its at-large representative number from 5 members to 7 members.
Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Move to statement of councilors. And I have Councilor Neal.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I have 2 items that I'd like to bring forward tonight. And the first one is Albert Street East between Front Street and Ormond Street. There's been 3 different businesses that have approached me regarding the parking along Albert Street East. And a couple of our parking spots there are 15-minute parking, and they want to change it to 2-hour parking. So, Mr. Mayor, I have a motion moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Decker, that the Albert Street East parking between Front Street and Ormond Street be reviewed with business, property owners, the parking committee, and a report be brought back to council for consideration.
I have a motion on the floor, and we have a seconder. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Number 2.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Broad Street in Port Robinson, we just dealt with that and have the no parking signs up there, but they would like to go further and have that street redone. So I move, seconded by Councilor Decker, that the Ross Street Port Robinson issue be directed to staff to bring a report back for budget discussions.
You have a motion on the floor by Councilor Neal, seconded by Councilor Decker. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the motion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Notices of motion. Do we have any notices of motion? That would come forward next meeting. None. So we're going to move into general committee. Okay. Call to order. Any declaration of interest? Seeing none, I'll move in. We have no delegations. We have no calls for reports to be brought forward. Motion to remove reports. So we'll move into consent reports. Is there any consent reports that we want to pull and have a discussion on? Councillor Longo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's a number of reports here that, although I would support, I believe that council maybe should have some discussion on. There's quite a bit of information here, and I don't think it's prudent just to pass as consent. So, without having staff get too upset with me, I'd like to pull the following report so we can talk and discuss. CAO report 2018-03, PWCS 2018-68, PWCS 2018-71, PDS 2018-36, and CC 2018-53. That's council correspondence. I'd like to pull an item from there.
Yep. Does anyone else have any items to pull while we're on that? Okay, seeing none, we'll start, Councilor Longo, with your first one, which is CAO 2018-03, Transit Service Report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not quite sure how to handle this one, but as you're aware, we've had plenty of discussion regarding transit. We've had meetings with Brock University, and give me 1 second here. I'm trying to navigate myself through this new system. This report here is a 2-year contract for transit services in Thorold. And in the documentation, there is a Schedule B that discusses revenue and expenses. And I'm just trying to pull it up. Sorry. I can't pull it up here, but I think I have it in my head here. So anyways, it's okay. It talks about revenues and expenses, and my concern here, it's been an ongoing concern, is we spend a lot of money on transit, and we have a relationship with Brock University Student Union for usage. My concern is it seems to me we're subsidizing Brock University student users who ride our city buses. And I'll try to make it very simple here. Basically, our riders pay so much per ride to ride our transit buses. And Brock University Student Union users pay 44 cents less per ride than a citizen of Thorold, or a non-student, let me put it that way. It represents about $72,000 a year. And although I know we need to pass this report to have an agreement with St. Catharines Transit, I believe this item needs to be further discussed with Brock University Student Union, and we need to come up with a resolution here. This has been going on for years, and it's just not fair. And the more and more I look into it, unless somebody can show me different, we are subsidizing Brock University Student Union riders on our city buses. So I'm not sure how we do this or what we need to do, and I know the CAO is not here, but I'd like to somehow direct him to carry on with meetings and come up with a resolution in the as soon as possible.
So can we have that added in that Councillor Longo and myself will sit on those meetings? We've been involved before, because there's a history here that we used to get less money than that and we got it bumped up. So now we got to work on getting it bumped up again. But can I ask, I'll ask after we do the.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, I'd recommend adding an additional recommendation to the report. So that request is documented for the CAO for his action.
And if I could, I'd like to, again, put a timeline on this. I know it's a difficult situation, but I think it's something we need to have a timeline on. And I know this, I believe the Brock student year ends at the end of April. So I'd like to have an increased rate, if possible, to a fair and equitable rate that the citizens pay by May 1st, if we could.
Councillor, well, let's get the motion first, and then I'll have speakers.
So the additional recommendation would be that the CAO be directed to engage Brock University Student Union and St. Catharines Transit to increase the rate that Brock University students pay to a fair and equitable rate, and have this completed by May 1st, 2019.
Everybody got that? Councillor Wilson?
Since I've ridden the bus. However, I just have a question. I don't know if this would be for staff, but I believe that all students have a decreased rate to ride the bus, not just Brock students, and also seniors. And so I would think it would be unfair for us to say that only Brock students should not get, because they are at Brock and it's a large school, that they should not get a discount, but other students can. They're using a bus system in Thorold just as any other student is. So I may be wrong, but I guess my question would be, if there is a lower rate for all students, it should apply to all students, not just negate the rate for Brock students.
Thank you. I want to also ask Director of Finance, what is the impact on our gas tax rebate by the ridership that we get from Brock University?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the way that the provincial gas tax works is they look at the total ridership across Ontario. So there's a proportion that gets allocated based on ridership. The other proportion, I believe, is based on population. So as your ridership changes, if it changes differently than the average across Ontario, then certainly your amount that you get for provincial gas tax, your percentage will change as well. So if others their ridership is growing more than ours, then they would get more of a proportionate share of the gas tax.
Thank you. Okay, so we have that motion on the floor. Do you want to read it one more time, just so everybody's clear?
So the additional motion is that the CAO be directed to engage Brock University Student Union and St. Catharines Transit to increase the fare paid by Brock students to a rate that is fair and equitable, and have this completed by May 1st, 2019.
Okay, that's the motion. Is there any discussion on that? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, so we got two. You got that? Okay, carried. Now we're moving on to the next item that you brought forward, which is PWC 2008, PWCS 2018-68.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This one's regarding the arborist services, and I guess I just want to know, I agree with it. I think we need to have an accounting and take care of our tree canopy. But what's the goal of this service contract, the overall goal? If somebody can explain that to me. I know we get an inventory, but what is it we're going to do with that inventory, and just the overall goal, if I could have that?
So I go through that to Manager Community Services.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. So the concept, currently the process is that we essentially wait for phone calls to come into the office and we address them as a reactionary device. This process will basically document the tree services across the region, and we're looking for trees that need attention versus waiting for the calls to come in. So they're going to basically prioritize the tree health from high, medium to low, and identify the locations for us, and then we can actually go out and mark these trees and then tender it out properly versus just simply giving a roundabout way of, if a tree's this scenario, it's this price, where we can actually say it's that tree, and we can go apples to apples now instead of versus everybody's sort of generalized opinion. So we're getting ahead of the curve on this, and it's going to allow us to pin down proper pricing to address these trees or deal with them with staff.
And thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you to Mr. Dre. So I guess we can also use this data to know which species to replant to have a balance?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor, that is exactly the case. So once the tree is removed from the resident's property, they have a list that we provide them of trees that they can opt to replace them with.
Any further discussions? Yes, Councillor Wilson.
Getting used to pressing the button, and then guide them through that process instead of just, you know, the squeaky wheel gets the oil approach. This person's called 10 times and wants their tree removed, and so therefore we'll remove it first.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor, that is the case. So we will have the ability to prioritize the trees based on the current health, as well as the time factor versus simply as the calls come in, squeaky wheel gets the grease. So yes.
Any further discussion on that? I can wait till the end. Yeah. Okay, we'll vote at the end unless we pull one. So now we're going to move on to PWCS 2018-71, RFP Award for Consultant Services, Fire Station Design, Contract Number 2018-650. Councillor Longo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the appropriate staff member. I just want to be clear here. I've had a few people ask me the question here. We haven't determined we're building a new fire station at this point, have we?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, we have not. This process is basically to identify, if we decide to go that route with council's approval, the amenities that we believe should be input into that potential fire station or renovation, if so be it.
Okay, and another question is, we don't have land for a new fire station, do we?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, we do not.
Okay, and my final question, is there any thought of this design combining other city facilities in one larger facility?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, that is absolutely a possibility.
So we will get some options with that through this cost here?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, that is correct.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on that report? Okay, seeing none, I'll move on to the next one, which is PDS 2018-36. Recommendation report to approve an amendment to the official plan and zoning bylaw for 75 Front Street South. Councillor Longo. Is that correct? Ormond Street. Ormond Street South, excuse me.
Thank you, Mr. Mirth, through you to the planning department. I know we had a public meeting regarding this. I do recall in the public meeting there was some concern about the entrance to this location, if it was approved. It's on a bend on Richmond and Ormond Street. It seems like a blind spot to me. There was a concern there. Is there any way that we've protected ourselves in terms of, I guess my question is, if a stoplight, for example, is required to be put there, is there any way that the city has taken this into consideration and it won't become a cost to the taxpayer?
Through you, Your Worship, at this point, this is strictly an amendment to the policy and the zoning bylaw and not to the site plan itself. So there is an ability and opportunity to comment and request consideration for the design and layout of access egress to the site at that time.
Okay, great. So that's what I wanted to hear. So basically at this point, we're approving this official plan amendment but we can still speak to this and make sure that any other concerns before construction begins are addressed.
So, Your Worship, that's correct.
Great, thank you.
Is there any further questions on that report? Okay. So we're going to move on to CC 2018-53, council correspondence for December 18th, 2018 meeting. And Councilor Longo, you wanted to pull something out of that?
Yes, I did, Mr. Mayor. And again, I thank everybody for their indulgence in listening to me, but I thought these were important items. There is a letter in council correspondence from Mr. Glenn Gordon. Mr. Glenn Gordon has made quite a nice gesture to the city of Thorold in helping the city build and finance a trail. Can I ask where this will go from this point? Because it's, he seems to have a timeline on it, which is the way I like things, to get them done quick, and just wonder what we're going to do at this point.
Okay, so I'll turn this over to Councilor Neal to answer this question.
Yeah, we've been looking at doing something along these lines for the last year or so from our strategic planning committee as far as Lake Gibson corridor is concerned. And Glenn Gordon came forward to our committee and said, I'd like to help one way or another. And as a result, we've met with him a couple of times over the last couple of months, and he does have a proposal that he has brought forward. There's some details regarding this. So anyways, I have a motion that I would like to put forward for further discussion, moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Decker, that the proposal from Rolling Meadows Land Development Corporation be sent to the appropriate staff to prepare a report on moving forward with this project for the February 5th council meeting. So that's my motion moving forward. I think it's a great idea. He's willing to put 50% down on whatever the cost may end up being. And I know we have different streams of revenue that we might be able to tap into regarding this. So.
Okay, yes. So, but can you just refer to budget instead of a date?
Well, if I refer to budget, then it's going to be March or April before we deal with this. And speaking to Mr. Gordon, he would like to see that happen before the budget process is completed, because if we wait for the budget process, it is going to be March or April. And he would like to get started in February to do his portion of what may happen.
Just once, to the Director of Finance, do you have a rough idea when we're going to start budget?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, optimistically, probably we'll be meeting mid to late February.
And as you noted, then there's 2 or 3 meetings along and nothing is passed until the end of the budget process. So, I mean, in theory, we could pass it beforehand, but anyways, that's.
Can I just get you to expand too? I think Councilor Longo was an idea of where that is going to be. Is that part of what you were asking? Where the actual location?
No, there's a diagram.
So you're good with that?
Yeah, there's a diagram.
Okay.
Okay.
I guess if I could jump in, my number one question is, this seems very aggressive. Is this possible to get this done this quick? Are the approvals in place by the property owners? Because I know some of the land is owned by OPG and possibly the region and so on. Can we get this done? I'd love to, but is it realistic?
The city is meeting with the region, which has most of the property. On the 11th of January, I believe it is.
There's a meeting set up on January 11th with the region. Yeah, that's
yes.
correct.
So the approvals could be done fairly quickly.
Go ahead, Councilor.
Just one other thing, if we can, when we're having these meetings, if we can look into, I know it's a budget item, but we were promised, I guess, money from the federal government based on transit ridership of $550,000 a year. I don't know if we've ever seen any of that money, but my understanding is we're getting $5.5 million over the next 10 years. And part of that money can go towards trail upgrades and so on. So maybe that's something we can have staff look into and see where that check is.
Okay, I'll ask the Director of Finance.
Through Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure, are you referring to the federal gas tax money? The federal gas tax money is part of your asset management plan that council approved. That's dedicated entirely to the roads infrastructure.
Go ahead,
Then
Councillor
I
Long.
may have to be corrected. I know there was an announcement last year by the federal government, and it was money to do with transit ridership. It was a new initiative, and they announced, it was a big announcement, that we would get $5.5 million over the next 10 years.
10 years, that's correct. Go ahead again.
Through Mr. Mayor, staff's really not sure which one it is, so perhaps we can get back to you.
Okay. Yes and no. Are you, you're okay with that? So you want that, and Fred, you have a motion?
Yeah, I'll read the motion again, Mr.
Yeah,
Mayor.
Rick.
That the proposal from Rolling Meadows Land Development Corporation be sent to the appropriate staff to prepare a report moving forward with this project, and I put in for the February 5th council meeting. We may not be able to get there at that time, but
That's your goal?
that's the goal.
Okay, and you have a seconder?
Yeah, Councilor Decker.
Okay. Okay. That we don't need one. Okay, so Councillor Neal, you're good with that?
I think Councilor Wilson might have something to.
Councillor Wilson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Would staff, could we also add in there that staff would let us know what the cost associated with our 50% would be from the city's perspective?
Yeah.
I
Okay,
presume that
we will
would be
do that.
part of the report.
Okay? We have that motion. Anyone that wants to speak to that? Hearing none. All those?
I'd like to hear it.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
You want to repeat that one more time?
Yes, that the proposal from Rolling Meadows Land Development Corporation be sent to the appropriate staff to prepare a report on moving forward with this project for the February 5th council meeting. And what will happen, Mr. Mayor, is the cost, the revenue stream
That's it.
that Councilor Longo was talking about, all of that will come back in that report for us to make a decision or put it to budget, whichever happens.
At that time. Okay, any further discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, so that gets us through that. We have that one covered. Is there anything else? Because we're going to vote now on all the consent reports. Okay? Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, moving the consent report. Opposed? Carried. Okay. Now we're going to move into discussion reports. DF 2018-38 defibrillators emergency purchase. It's Director of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The recommendations that council approve the emergency purchase of 3 replacement defibrillators in the amount of $5,304 plus HST, and secondly, that this be funded from the encumbrance reserve. And this concludes the report.
Can I get a mover for the report? Councillor Longo.
So move the report.
Any discussion on that report? Hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. PWC 2018-75 fire station key fob installation. We'll go to the manager of community services.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The recommendation is first that in accordance with the purchasing policy, council be informed that an emergency purchase to a maximum expenditure of $25,000 with AccuLock and security to fund the installation of a key fob security system at all 4 fire stations was approved by the acting CAO on December the 12th, 2018. And number 2, that $3,000 be reallocated from the Station 1 renovation budget and $22,000 from the Municipal Land and Building Reserve. And number 3, that the mayor and clerk be authorized to execute the necessary agreement. That concludes the recommendation.
Can I have a mover for the recommendation? Councillor Longo.
So move the recommendation.
Any discussion on the recommendation? Hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. PDS 2018-35, details of the administration of a rat rebate program. Manager of building, chief building official, let me get that correct. Sorry, Jason.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's recommended that council receive the report PDS 2018-35 for information purposes on the details of administering a rat rebate program.
Can I get a mover for that report? Councillor Neal.
Moved.
Speakers to this report. Councillor Neal.
If we put an upper limit on the amount that we want to spend on that, would that help us out? Because we don't want it open-ended like other municipalities, and I noticed $1 million some odd dollar, I don't know the exact amount, but.
So you want to direct that to the chief building official?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
If council chooses to put a cap on it, that's certainly possible, and we would apply the rebate on a first-come, first-served basis.
Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question was to the amount of time that our bylaw department would spend on this. It stated in the report that the idea was they would first go to the property and inspect and see the situation, give recommendations to the resident, and then return, or we would then fund a portion of that if the problem did not go away. So I was just wondering, I know it's just for discussion at this point, but if staff has given any consideration to the cost in terms of our staff members being out there. Thank you.
To the chief building official.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it's been estimated that it would be approximately 2 hours of staff time per file.
Does anyone? Go ahead, Councillor.
And was that a part of the 1 million and change? That was the estimate cost for the program?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, that is correct. That 1 million plus was considering the cost of the $200 rebate as well as staff time and costs.
Councillor Longo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the chief building official. 2 hours of staff time, what's that equate to in dollars?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I don't recall the exact number off the top of my head, but overall in the report it indicates that it's $75.10 per application that would be associated to staff time and resources.
That answer your question, Councillor Longo?
Yeah, I think I have the same concern Councillor Wilson has about spending money to send somebody out to tell somebody to hire somebody to send us a bill.
I think the big thing here for me personally, and I'm a big thing on the waste management side, is education and closed-top garbage containers, which I'm going to be fighting for at the regional level, because I really believe that's a big factor, but that's my personal opinion. Anyone else? Go ahead, Councillor Long.
If we're going to place an upper limit on it, does finance or the chief building official have an upper limit number we should put on this? Or is that up to us?
Then I would think then you'd have to defer it to budget and they would have to give us a number, because at this point, from what I get from the report, you're not recommending that. Am I correct?
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. This report was just for information purposes only. It's not a recommendation. At this point in time, there has been no money allocated in the 2019 budget to provide such a service. I can say that the two municipalities in the Niagara region that currently have this type of program in place, I believe they have put each a cap on of $50,000.
Go ahead, Councillor Longo.
So can I refer this to the budget committee?
You certainly can. And understand that those communities that put that budget on are a lot bigger communities than our community. For further discussion? So, Councillor Longo, are you okay with that gets deferred for further discussion to budget?
Absolutely.
And staff can put in a number that they think might work, and we can decide if it fits or not. Go ahead, Councillor Neal.
Yeah, just so people, the rest of council understands that we had a problem with rats a while ago. We haven't had any lately that I know of, but
No.
But that's not to say that we're not going to have it again.
No,
so.
no. And we can defer all these things to budget, but you have to understand at the end of the day, you're going to see when budget comes that there's going to be a number there, and you keep adding stuff, that number's not going to be palatable. So it's going to be, you know, you can have a wish list, but at the end of the day, what we're actually going to end up doing are two different things. But I'm not saying that we shouldn't look at this. Don't get me wrong. We shouldn't. Okay? So are we good with that? It's going to...
So we'll add a second recommendation that it be referred to the 2019 budget deliberations.
Okay. All those in favor? Carry. CC 2018-54, Award of Animal Control and Humane Services 2019 to 2022. Our City Clerk, Donna Delvecchio.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's recommended that the city enter into a 4-year contract with Lincoln County Humane Society for the provision of animal control and humane services commencing January 1st, 2019 and ending December 31st, 2022 at the annual cost contained within the report. And as part of this agreement, that the Lincoln Humane Society become our service provider for the removal of any deceased animals on city property at an additional cost of $3,600 per year. That concludes the report.
Can I get a mover for the report? Councillor Wilson. Speakers to report. Hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. CC 2018-55, Council Committee and Board appointments.
So thank you, Mr. Mayor. Everyone has their binders. We can consider some committee applications out in open session, and the balance we'll have to do in closed session as they're about an identifiable individual. So we can start with the Age-Friendly Committee, the additional application we received. It's on yellow paper inside your tab. Tab number 1, I believe. Oh, I thought you brought them all in. Joanne's going to get the binders.
Okay. We'll just be a minute. Yeah, that's another. You know who died? Ben's husband. Ben from the Age-Friendly.
Was that?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So they have visitation
when's
on
that?
Friday.
Okay.
2 to 4 and 7 to 9 at, all confused.
Okay, I'll go. No, we'll do them separately because they're two different committees. So behind tab number 1, we have the Age-Friendly Committee. We have one new application. This individual would serve as a joint accessibility rep to the Age-Friendly Committee, which we currently have a vacancy. She is an incumbent as well on this committee.
Councilor Longo.
I don't have that.
Good. Has everybody got that, or are we waiting? Okay.
They should have all been done.
I'm going to call a 5-minute recess so we can get the right paperwork and move forward on this.
So the recommendation will be amended that Joey Hewitt be included to the Age-Friendly Committee as the Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee rep.
All in favor? It's carried. Joint, so we got both done?
No.
We're
Separate.
doing Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee now. You want to speak on that?
At our last meeting, we did select a Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee member, Frank Pupolo. He has accepted the nomination, but now we have our incumbent who has also expressed interest to return. I did speak to our consultant, and there is room on the committee for an additional Thorold rep. We've had it in the past, and it's actually preferred that the incumbent return because there's a lot of turnover on that board, and she's been with it for 15 years. So for consistency's sake, I recommend that you include this additional applicant to join Accessibility Advisory Committee.
Any discussion? Go ahead.
You could have a second person apply.
Mm-hmm.
Up to council. The reason was that she was the incumbent, and she sat on both committees last time, and she did apply late, but that's before you. Councillor Neal.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just as she's an accessibility expert, and I believe we need to have at least one of those on our committee, and this would be a good addition.
Anyone else? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor? Carried.
Downtown facade.
What?
Allenburg Community Center.
Are we doing this facade?
Yep, we can do downtown facade.
Downtown Facade Advisory Committee Architect Appointment. As you know, last time we filled the 2 positions, and now we had the architect position open, so if you want to speak on that, please.
Our planning department did reach out to the architect that was previously, and David Robbins has indicated he does want to continue to sit on this committee. So it's before you for consideration.
Any discussion? This fills the void of having the architect, okay? All those in favor? It carried unanimous. Heritage.
Yeah.
Heritage, Black Act. Okay, Donna, go ahead again.
So we have one application before you this evening. This will complete the full committee to 7 members.
Everybody good with that? Any questions, any discussion? All those in favor? Carried unanimous.
Linda Borland will be added to the Heritage Thorold Act Committee.
Downtown Parking Committee. So what do we have here?
We have a number. So we have 4 applications that have come forward for the Downtown Parking Committee. Currently, there are 3 vacancies, but all of these applications, members are in the BIA area. There may be more to come forward as well, as I did reach out to the BIA to see if they can send an email to all of their members, letting them know that we're still looking for applications. So it remains to be seen at this point.
So we got 1, 2, who's 3, and what's the 4th one? Mm-hmm.
We have Michael Skirvin.
Mm-hmm.
We have DeLomo. We have Vito
So we got 6.
We have a total of 7 now. If all 4 get accepted, because we had 2 before.
So 2 and 4 is 6.
Yeah, it's up to 6, sorry,
Yeah,
one extra.
Okay, so we have 2 members approved already. We have 4 people that have applied. That will take us to 6. So there's 2 questions here. Because this is a committee, we can increase the size. Do we want to take all 4 and have 6? Or do we want to take 3 and have 5? I'm opening that to discussion. Councillor Neal.
Yes, I know there's a couple others that were on the committee last time through that may put their applications in, so I hope we could increase the committee by 1 or 2 if that does happen.
I have no problem doing that, because this committee is sometimes hard to get the numbers out because people work. It's a during-the-day committee. One of the people that was on the committee last time has already approached me and said they want to, they haven't put their name in because they want to give an opportunity to some new people to be on it. And I don't want to, but.
Mr. Mayor, I move we accept the 4 people that I see in front of us.
We got a motion to accept all 4 and increase the committee size to 6. Is there any discussion on that issue? Seeing none, I call the question. All in favor? Carried, unanimous.
The
Okay.
additional 4 appointments to Downtown Parking Committee include Tim Whalen, Nick DeLomo, Michael Skirtich, and Vito Perry.
Allenberg Community Center Board of Management, we have 1.
We have 1.
We have 1 applicant. Go ahead.
That applicant is the incumbent on this committee. He's also the person who provides access, so I would recommend appointing him.
Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor? It's carried, unanimous. Okay, so we're gonna go on now. What's that? Oh, who's,
The person being appointed to Allenberg Community Center is Kyle Burketto.
I don't have to read that, I just said. These issues? Okay, can I have a motion to move into closed session to discuss city clerk's verbal report? Do I mention that? Lots 67 and 68 Uppers Lane, disposition of municipal lands, city clerk's verbal report, town and gown committee and Thorold Municipal Nonprofit Housing Corporation identifiable individuals, city clerk's verbal report, 3530 Schmon Parkway, solicitor-client privilege, and in-camera general committee meeting minutes of October 2nd, November 6th, November 20th, and December 11th. Can I have a motion to move into closed session? Councillor Wilson. Okay, so let's move into closed session. Do we want to